Welcome to another edition of Cybersecurity Divas Leadership Moments with Lyndrel Downs. Today's edition is brought to you by Fortify Experts, a cybersecurity search and consulting firm that helps companies build high-performing security and risk teams. Today, Lynn will be speaking with Lynette Hornung, a principal security architect for Dell Technologies. Now here's Lynn.
So let's kind of get started here. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Lyndrel Downs, co-founder of Cybersecurity DIVAS. I have Lynette on the line. Lynette, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Lynette Hornung. I have my Master of Science in Information Assurance. I was CyberCore. I have my SAPSA Security Architecture certifications. I have my CIPP-US, and I have done a variety of security architecture, security, privacy solutions and services with a variety of federal customers and worked for a variety of companies. And I am currently a principal security and privacy architect with Dell Technologies and looking forward to participating with the Cybersecurity Divas.
All right, thank you, Lynette. So how did you get started in cybersecurity?
So I was actually working in the College of Engineering at Iowa State University, and the Board of Regents approved the information assurance at the time. Now it's called cybersecurity program. And Iowa State was actually one of the first NSA centers of excellence. So I was aware of the program when I was in the College of Engineering and was very interested in pursuing that Master of Science degree because I knew that the level of rigor at Iowa State would be really good because not only was it one of the first NSA centers of excellence, but Iowa State is a #1 research university. It's a land-grant university, and I know the quality of the faculty and the quality of the programs and how focused at Iowa State, since it is a land grant, is focused on research, teaching, and giving back to the community. So I knew that I would be enrolled in a very good program, even though it was a bit daunting to tackle that. I felt like I'm used to working hard for things that are worthwhile pursuing and that it would be very beneficial for me to enter that world. And I've been very happy that I got that foundational Master of Science degree because it's fostered my ability to work in the field of IT security and continue to grow and develop, such as getting my security architecture certifications and my privacy certifications and getting to network and know a lot of the different people in the community and being engaged and presenting on various topics at both domestic computer security conferences as well as international security conferences.
Wow, that's interesting. How was that, being those type of conferences and presenting?
So that's really good because, of course, you're always learning. And
Yeah.
of course, there's always changes in the field of IT security, like any profession. There's always things evolving and things changing. But in particular, there's a lot of scary things in the field of IT security. So it's always very beneficial to not only do the research to present, but it also, it's a whole group of very intelligent, talented individuals that I had the opportunity to meet at the conferences as well as other speakers. So it's been really great. And from that, I was able to actually be part of the first all-women panel on artificial intelligence at COSAC, which is a security architecture conference. So.
Oh, I love it. Who has been your greatest mentor?
Well, I would say that it's hard to pinpoint it down to just one person because I've been fortunate that certainly when I worked at DOJ initially to fulfill the scholarship commitment, the deputy director that hired me was really great about giving me a lot of good opportunities, but I've also worked with a lot of different managers at the different companies throughout my career that have been very supportive. And then even going back to Iowa State, again, I always had really strong faculty that were really good. So my major professors that I had when I earned my master's degrees were very mentoring, as well as other faculty that I interacted with at Iowa State. And I would have to perhaps highlight, again, my major professor was very supportive and is still supportive of me, but there was also a computer science faculty. And I think perhaps if I share this with you, it kind of illustrates a lot of interesting nuances with IT security and how a lot of us take various different paths to get here. So Dr. Lutz has well, originally she had her PhD in Portuguese, but she happened to take enough computer science that when the market was not great, whenever she was earning this degree, she actually got on with Jet Propulsion Lab. So she actually still does work with Jet Propulsion Lab, even though she obviously went on to be a computer science professor. So I know that obviously she got higher education in computer science, but she's really great in that not only does she recognize that sometimes it's important to make sure you are varied in your interest and at any point along your life path, but also she is very good about having her undergraduate computer science students read science fiction because she wants them to understand the social and the political and the economic implications of the technology that they develop.
Okay.
And I've shared that story at different security conferences, and a lot of people have approached me and they've really liked the fact that there's that type of faculty who thinks outside the box and encourages her students to, again, understand the full scope picture, not to just think inside the box.
Oh, that's interesting. What has been your greatest challenge in this career?
Well, sometimes because women are still not, we're still relatively lower numbers in the industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some challenges that way, and challenges that way can take a variety of forms. So I would say, again, but this is probably true for any industry, you definitely always need to be able to diplomatically assert yourself and be able to understand how to navigate various aspects of the landscape of the workplace, I guess, for lack of a better way, because there's always going to be dynamics, and sometimes there's misconceptions, or sometimes there's a gap in understanding things. So it's being able to demonstrate your credentials, your skills, your knowledge, and do so in a way that you're fostering collaboration and strong relations, but yet being able to be assertive and walk that line of being diplomatic yet assertive at the same time.
So if you had to tell a junior divas to get it to the level actually you're at or whatever, what would you tell them?
I'd say it's important to take a look at what different aspects in terms of paths they're comfortable in pursuing. Some of us take a variety of education, certification, and also engagement. But again, there's a lot of things that a person can do, right? So there's always the opportunity to learn more, which is always important. So again, there's many ways to slice and dice that, whether it's pursuing it through a college curriculum program or taking, different courses like through Udemy or, Coursera. There's all kinds of different ways to take courses, but to definitely always be open to expanding their skill set, definitely open to taking on opportunities in their job. I would say the key thing is to hopefully have a supported manager who will facilitate strong professional growth. And again, that would enable you to take different courses, pursue different certifications, be engaged in speaking. I know a lot of the different things that I feel like are important. Like I do feel like it's important to constantly speak at security conferences, because not only do I get to see friends and colleagues that I like to learn and interact with, but you grow a lot in terms of doing that. So I would say it's always important to take advantage of a variety of opportunities, and there's always a lot of different organizations to get involved with. Cybersecurity Divas, there's a lot of other things, IEEE, IAPP, there's a lot of different professional or other organizations. There's Women in Technology, there's a whole variety of different ways to get involved. And when you get involved and you get to meet other people, I would say that is important. But I'd say the other thing that tends to be key is having the strong support of your management to be able to continue to grow professionally.
Yeah, I agree with that. What are some of the early career mistakes either you have made or have you seen made by others in cybersecurity?
I would say I'm going to reframe it a little bit, but I'm going to say not so much of a mistake, but I would say things to be, perhaps challenges to be aware of are, I think anytime you're starting a new job, it's important to understand the culture, because certainly there's certain things a person can foster as a positive way to achieve the things they need to achieve within their workspace and their career path. But every entity is a little different with the culture. So sometimes, you know, what's accepted in certain things, it's important to kind of key in to the culture of any organization that you're working with, which perhaps is getting back to the mentorship with Cybersecurity Divas is helpful to understand kind of learning the ropes, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Right.
Because, you know, there's a learning curve for anybody. I would say, again, it's more of, I think, just, again, trying to understand the culture and then trying to make sure you find certain allies, whether that's hopefully support from management, but also sometimes support from peers. Again, you know, a lot of times there's positive understanding that can be shared in terms of understanding the company culture or the entity's culture. If you're supporting a federal agency, for example, understanding that agency's culture by, again, working with people who have had more seasoned experience there, and then kind of getting a pulse for how to navigate things. Because of course, in any given project you're working on, or any entity where you're working, some people are always going to have certain backgrounds or certain sensitivities. And I think doing your homework to try and understand, you know, a little bit about the individuals that you're working with and understanding the expectations, I would say, again, that comes down to a lot of times, just as an employee, it's always important to have transparency, to have open communication, and to make sure you're managing the expectations so everybody's working on the path toward success.
Okay. All right. What is your most used business tool that you use in cybersecurity?
I don't know if I could narrow it down to one tool. I would say, I guess what comes to mind is understanding the various frameworks and approaches, and then having a familiarity. And again, it would kind of go back to what I talked about earlier, always being open to learning things, because a lot of times, and I guess I would strongly go back to SABSA security architecture, because SABSA focuses on a variety of things. Like the trust modeling is very important to understand the different connections and trust relationships to help you truly understand, so you can understand if there's any threat vectors and ways to build in security to mitigate any potential attacks. But the other thing that's great about SABSA is if you focus on any given entity's most important critical assets, then it makes sense to build the security framework and the risk management framework based upon understanding what your most critical things are. And then from there, you can move forward in terms of how to provide a strong overall security architecture.
Okay. What is the biggest concern about the current state of preventing cybersecurity threats to you?
Well, I would say that it's very scary, because, and I'm laughing because, of course, there's so many things going on in this atypical year we're in. Because first of all, cyber threats, security attacks have spiked during COVID, because they know a lot of people are working remote. There have been a spike of, you know, not only security attacks, but in particular, of course, attacks to get sensitive data, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's sensitive financial information, PII, protected health information. So I would say the biggest threat is that we keep getting really scary, sophisticated attacks from very scary, sophisticated actors, whether they're state-sponsored or rogue agents or a bizarre consortium of bad actors. And so it's trying to just keep current on things. And, you know, certainly there's a lot of challenges, you know, and my heart goes out to smaller entities that are going to have a hard time coming up with the funding on things. And I think that's why, again, it's important to think creatively, which is what we tend to do in IT security, of thinking outside the box and trying to come up with creative solutions to foster and support business, but yet be also at the same time fostering a strong security posture.
Okay. Okay. What are people or employers not doing enough of to keep the threats at bay?
Well, I would say one of the challenging things has been, and there's no easy solution to this,
Right.
has been the fact that COVID has had such a strong economic impact across all industries.
Mm-hmm.
So the current climate is very challenging, because even tech companies are having to go through unfortunate numbers analysis, and sometimes they are letting their tech security people be laid off. So I would say that is going to be a big challenge because, again, I understand the great challenges with COVID that have just, hit, I think, almost every industry, have made things very hard. But that is definitely something that is challenging in the IT security industry, is the fact that it's not uncommon for technical security folks, even though they have incredibly strong careers and incredibly strong marketable skills, and they're definitely needed in a lot of different places, that sometimes there are these reduction in forces that happen. And that I think is one of the challenges.
Okay. And where do you see the biggest opportunity to improve security?
I would say that from what I can tell, because again, there's a variety of things I stay up on in terms of understanding what's going on with everything, that it just seems like most sectors have some challenges. Certainly there's a lot of good success cases in a lot of entities, but there's a lot of challenges. I would say in particular, I suppose there tends to be a lot of challenges in the cloud space, just because, again, there's a lot of different threat vectors to make sure that there's the security in place for. And again, that's why there's, always the constant, not only analysis of that and understanding of it, but also, development of different tools or different approaches to make sure that, of course, we're doing defense in depth, we're doing strong security architectures, we're truly understanding things. And of course, unfortunately, sometimes we do lessons learned from horrendous data breaches.
Right.
So I'd say that's an area. And then I would say the other challenge is, again, no place is perfect. Every place has different challenges. Every place has limited resources, but there's definitely certain legacy things that, again, people need to be mindful, because COVID, the bad actors, they're attacking everything. I mean, they've been attacking everything all the time, every day, but it's really spiked because they know that COVID has created a lot of remote workforce.
Yes, it has. I'm gonna throw you a loop here. What's the last show you've been binge watched?
I guess Sanditon, because I like a variety of different things.
What's your favorite podcast?
That's a good question, because there's so many good ones out there. I'd say, the TED Talks are really good, but, there's great podcasts with IEEE. There's great ones with IAPP. I'm sure there's all kinds of other entities, but I guess those are the ones that kind of come to mind as having real strong podcasts on a variety of great topics.
Okay. And what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is A Tale of Two Cities.
Tell us why.
Because I think it illustrates a lot of interesting things about human behavior. And the reason why I like Charles Dickens is his writing is always very interesting in terms of insight into human behavior and sometimes redemption of characters. So, A Tale of Two Cities is good because it illustrates from time to time certain unfortunate things that can happen throughout history, even though it was a piece of fiction. Because when society starts to get too fever pitched on something and tends to do rush to judgment on things and condemns people without having the full picture, nothing good comes from that. So it's important. I think, again, it illustrates why societies and nation states have to have various checks and balances in place, as well as in the United States written constitution, various civil rights, rules of law, process. And, no place is going to be perfect, but if you have those things, you definitely need to ward and prevent mob rule.
Okay. Last question. What is your most important lesson you've learned in your career?
I would say that it's looking to really good managers and really good senior leadership in how they not only manage things, but how they treat employees. And I guess I would have to say that the ones that I tend to respect the most have a very good moral compass, and they tend to certainly, manage things, have the bar, but they tend to foster open communication and transparency. And they also recognize that sometimes we can have things happen, but as long as people are conducting themselves with integrity, which again would go back to the fact that if you have a person who has a strong moral compass, they're going to conduct themselves with integrity. They're going to treat people fairly. And to me, that is the best way to go about things, because, you know, anybody can make a mistake. We just hope it's not an egregious one. But if we're not living in a state of fear because we have an appropriate level of integrity and an appropriate healthy environment, then that will foster and bring out the best in people and make for a very positive workplace and probably a very successful agency or company or variety of all the above.
Okay, great, great. Well, Lynette, I want to say thank you for being a diva.
Yes.
Inspirational person out there in the workforce for us women in cybersecurity.
All right.
All right. You take care, Lynette.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.